outside and been despised. But I'm Daniel in the lion's den, Jonah in the belly of the whale. I'm not alone, so I cannot fail. No, 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 and I'm born to win. I am born to win. I am born to win. I've been rejected, considered dead. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've been accused and been refused. But the stone that the builder refused shall be the head cornerstone. I cannot fail, cause I'm not alone. No, 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 and I'm born to win.
Pleasant good evening to each and every one of you joining our live this evening. This evening is no new news this evening, who we have as a guest on our live tonight. It's none other than the winner man, Mr. Asot Michael. Good evening, Mr. Michael.
Good evening, J. Truth, and it's really a pleasure to be here. Nice to be back with you and your thousands of audience and listeners right here in your studios in Antigua and Barbuda and around the world. As the song just rightfully said, I'm born to win. And I have to really give praise to Jah Almighty for the blessings that He's bestowed upon me, to my beautiful family, my two lovely sisters, Teresa and Saraya, my lovely son Nigel, all my hard-working campaign workers, my secretaries in my office, my entire team. I want to big them up tonight, man. I want to say thanks to all of them. And of course to the people of St. Peter's, my beloved constituents, who overwhelmingly came out on election day to support me. I want to say that I'm grateful to God and I've been blessed. I want to thank them, J. for their love, their support, and also for the historic, decisive mandate that, to represent them in Parliament. I'm looking forward to Parliament, although the Prime Minister, he delaying Parliament. He's afraid. Yeah. He's very much afraid, J. But it's first time in the history of Antigua that the people of this country have really elected an independent member in the House. Yeah. And I really truly believe that the people of St. Peter has been chosen by God to be the rock, to be built upon, the rock which a revolution has taken place in this country. And I say revolution, I use the word revolution in a peaceful way, because it was a peaceful revolution, a bloodless revolution. And it's for a leadership and for better governance that we really want to see in our beautiful state of Antigua and Barbuda. And the saying goes, the truth, that the stone that the builder refused, the long-suffering people, the neglected people that have been arguing and advocating so long for, the people of the Labour stronghold in this constituency of St. Peter, became the head cornerstone on January 18th, 2023, my dear brother.
That is facts, Mr. Winnerman. The truth is, no, Mr. Michael, even with all that was going on right now with you and Gaston, I honestly believe I am until be partner now. But now that you win, we realize that you go after you even harder. What you got to say about that?
Jimmy Cliff has a famous song. It's one of my famous songs. The harder they come, the harder they fall. And if you know Asot Michael has absolutely no rancor, no ill feeling, no malice against no man. And I really still, even at the stage that he's coming after me so strong,
right.
He has in fact turned the election into his personal vendetta against me. We all know that.
He said he's willing to mash up the government,
yeah,
rather than to work with you.
Yeah, can you imagine that?
How you feel about this for Labour Party?
He boasted of how badly I was going to lose. You remember he said he got his pollster, Peter Wickham, to say that I did not even enjoy 15% of the popular vote.
Right.
And that I would not even receive 15% of the popular support in St. Peter. Well, the people of St. Peter responded resoundingly and decisively on election day. And as the independent candidate, just to give the people of St. Peter and the people of Antigua and Barbuda an indication, I received 2,137 votes, 59% of the votes, 401 votes more than I received in 2018 elections.
Right.
As the Labour Party candidate, when I had the whole Labour Party machinery behind me. And you have to understand that was an increase of 23% over 2018. I defeated J. Truth, three political parties. I defeated the UPP, the ALP,
And the DNA.
and the DNA.
Yeah.
And combined, I won all three of them by 668 votes, a margin of 18%. And I had a victory of 1,238 votes, or 34% against the great Warden Turner, that Gaston Browne got up here and said at the opening at the basketball court of the bus shed here, the bus terminal or whatever they were going to do there, that I would lose, and I would lose decisively.
And he guarantee you, yeah, and he could bet a wager.
And he would bet a wager.
Yeah.
Well, I should have been a betting man. In my old days I was, when I was playing blackjack. But I got, in fact, 1,535 votes, or 44% margin over even my son, Trevon Harriet, of the UPP. So, the people have really spoken. I thank the people. But they have spoken in a most emphatic way.
Right.
In a most dramatic way, most decisive way. And St. Peter wants me to be in Parliament. There's no doubt
Right.
they wanted me to be in Parliament. Otherwise, they would not have gone out in their numbers. We, in fact, had an 80% turnout. Some constituencies as low as 67%. I think the Prime Minister's seat had one of the lowest turnouts. But people, you saw the lines in Parham, you saw the lines in the Precision Centre, and also the lines in Pierce Village for their support. And the people wants me to be in Parliament and also wants me to be in government. And whilst the most of the Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party cabinet ministers got a reduced support, I increased my support significantly. And the people want me to be in government for the very reasons that Gaston Browne, Prime Minister Gaston Browne, has praised me as superior to him and everyone else in his own cabinet.
Right.
In terms of building investor relations, in terms of leveraging connections to bring to these shores. I mean, he said it's not me, for the benefit of the state and the benefit of the people. So now he leads a minority government with more people against him than for him. Because the facts speak for themselves, the numbers speak for themselves. From ABIC, over 53% of the country voted against the Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party.
Yes.
So although he won more seats than the UPP, one seat more people in the country voted against his party than voted for him. And you may ask yourself, well, what should he do? If I was him, the honourable thing to do between me and you was I would resign.
Exactly.
And I make no bones about that. I mean, I would resign and allow someone else to take the national leadership role in this country.
But his colleagues are standing with him. What do you think about that?
Well, they're standing by them. You have to ask yourself why they're standing by them. Maybe some of them have cheese in their mouth. I mean, come on.
Why you think they're standing against him?
Well, because
they're not standing against him.
During the election campaign, you have to see J. Truth. Gaston Browne tried his best to bully the ABLP candidates to support him. I mean, I think that you have a clip to wage war against me. He failed, so he said they were afraid of my money.
Yeah. You want me to play that clip?
I would love you to.
I have that clip right here,
man. On one occasion, he said he planned a public meeting.
I'm gonna play the clip right now.
Well, let me tell you something, yeah? Asot Michael is a devil incarnate. Let me tell you something, and the rest of the population. I rather resign and become an ordinary citizen than to work with Asot Michael. Now bring the argument to me about Asot Michael. It cannot happen.
Okay.
I rather the government mash up. I rather the government mash up. I rather the government mash up than to bring back Asot Michael. It can't happen. My word is my bond. And from now on, let us end any discussion about Asot Michael.
This is the same man that say you are the best relationship builder and all of these things.
Can you imagine that?
Boy.
The best relation builder, the best person to bring investment into the country.
Right.
And also praised me up to 2.5 years ago, saying that if it was not for me and him that traversed the length and breadth of this country, to go and to win the leadership for him,
right,
to make him political leader against Lester Bird, to make him Prime Minister of this country,
right,
that we work tirelessly day and night. The clips are there also for that way he said on his own radio station Point FM that if it was not for Asot Michael and himself who teamed up as two youthful members of the Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party, we would not have regained the governance of this country in 2014, and we did a splendid job. And all of a sudden, he don't want to hear the name Asot Michael.
Right.
Why he doesn't want to hear the name of Asot Michael all of a sudden?
He hate the man.
No, he hate me. I don't hate him. I pity him.
That's your brother.
Yeah, I pity him. You know, and then he also said on one occasion that he planned a public meeting during the same campaign to go into St. Peter to put some licks on me and to let the people know what the truth is. And he said to his colleagues, you have that clip? You can't have a situation...
Yeah, man, I have all the clip on them line up. You want to hear that?
He said, you can't have a situation, I think, in which the Prime Minister alone is attacking Asot Michael.
Right.
And which one of you will go out there and prepare to carry the fight to him?
Yeah.
And he said only one of them put up their hand.
But company, look, what you want, if he attack you, what you want other people? Let me play the clip. I have the clip here. Let me play the clip.
I think we made a fundamental error. And I know people keep second guessing me, but I'm on the ground and I feel that being a little closer to action, I know what is required. We made a fundamental blunder for the entire Labour Party not to have gone after Asot Michael. And we did our candidate in that area total disservice, left him on his own. But I believe that if we had gone after him and didn't allow this thing to look as though it's a personal vendetta of the Prime Minister against Asot Michael, because that's what it came down to. And it's not that I have not asked my colleagues, on one occasion we planned a public meeting during the same campaign to go into St. Peter to put some licks in him to let the people know what the truth is. So I said to my colleagues, look, you can have a situation in which the Prime Minister is the only one who is attacking Asot Michael. Which one of you, or how many of you are prepared to carry the fight to him? Only one man put up his hand, of all the 17 candidates. One. You know what we had to do? Had to cancel it. Because men no want to fight. Women no want to fight. And I believe some of it was out of fear. They're afraid Asot Michael money. But people are not stupid.
And you hear that? They're afraid hear that, J. Truth?
Yeah.
And I believe it's out of fear. They're afraid Asot Michael money.
Right.
But in addition of being afraid of me, Gaston Browne says the ABLP candidates were fudging voter support numbers, not putting in the work, and they almost lost government. I want to ask him, if his candidates fear Asot Michael money, how much money did he receive from me personally between 2004 and 2014 and 2018
right.
to fund his personal campaign against Lester Bird?
Right.
Two leadership struggles, one that he lost against Lester Bird, the second one that he won, when all of his other colleagues were against him, when we traversed, to use his words, traversed this whole country day and night, and we had a splendid partnership, to use his words. How much money Asot Michael and his family put up? How much political capital? How much popularity I had in that same Labour Party that he was so unpopular and hated?
That is facts.
When he made so much disparaging remarks to Miss Small and to other comrades down in North Street and insulted them.
Yeah.
I mean, Robin Baskus, the late Robin Baskus, the Hugh Marshall Sr., all kind of different people that he'd insulted down in North Street. I mean, I remember even Margaret Rose, the Silver daughter, Bonnie the Silver, and different persons that he treated with contempt, with impunity, and they never liked him. And I had to take him to the different branches across this country. The 17 branches, the 16 here in Barbuda, and fly the Barbudans over to Antigua. And even the Union with Comrade Sukdal and Wiggly George and so forth, and Peter Abraham and these other comrades to get the Union behind him to vote for him. They had absolutely no intention of voting against Comrade Lester Bird.
Right.
So it's not just financial resources I spend on him. And for him to say that about his ministers is a condemnation. He's actually saying his ministers are corrupt. That they're taking money from me and big money from me, not to attend and to sabotage a general election campaign, not to come into power. You know how serious that is that a political leader is accusing his own cabinet colleagues of not going and following him as the politically following him.
And his personal vendetta, might I add. So let me ask you something, Asot. These ABLP candidates, they got more Asot Michael money to campaign than Gaston Browne got between 2004 and 2018?
But absolutely not. That's the point I was just making. In the struggle to get ABLP back to government, Browne himself, I just said, has received more Asot Michael money than any and all of them put together.
Right.
But he's not afraid of Asot Michael money. But he knows that they're afraid. So in other words, no, he wants us to understand clearly. And I want the country to understand what Gaston Browne is accusing him of. He's accusing him of fear of Asot Michael money means his colleagues are corrupt. His colleagues are beholden to the history-making independent candidate of Asot Michael. in doing my bidding, of serving the people in a democracy without fear or favor. That is a fundamental requirement, J. Truth. So I just want to ask Gaston Browne, in the struggle to get back the ABLP into government in 2014, how much money did Gaston Browne personally receive? Because I can disclose it.
Right.
How much millions of my family's resources did he personally receive for the 2 conventions against Lester Bird, to try to defeat Lester Bird and ultimately become the political leader and Prime Minister of this country?
Right.
And he is not afraid, but he knows that his colleagues are afraid. He describes his colleagues also as a team of little, if any, integrity, devoid of the capacity to get the job done.
Yes, I heard that.
And they feel the same way about him. I mean, they make no bones about it, you know, my brother.
So you believe that his colleagues know that he's bad for business in regards to national development in Antigua and Barbuda?
But of course they know that he's bad for business, but they're afraid to say so. They know so. Of course they do. It's clear that Gaston Browne colleagues know and understand that the unconscionable, unlawful, illegal behavior, the totalitarian behavior that is being meted out to me, is unchristian, is undemocratic, that I took the Labour Party to court. I was on strong legal grounds, that I won all the court cases when he tried to set up this kangaroo disciplinary tribunal, he and Max Hurst. I got judgment against them. When he also tried to cancel me off the Labour Party ticket, when the judge clearly said that I am the duly elected representative,
Labour,
they did not have a primary, and a primary should be held where there are more than 2 candidates, and he installed Rawdon Turner and went down to the convention, ultra vires, and against the judgment, and he is still in contempt of court. And his colleagues also appreciate my determination to stand up and to campaign and to cancel me from the political life of Antigua and Barbuda just because I've questioned his source of wealth.
So
just because, before you ask the next, just because, remember, you know, I went to Parliament, you know, J. Truth, and from the day that I asked Gaston Browne in Parliament, can you legitimately tell this country, where did you derive all these millions that you have prior to 2014? I know where I got my wealth from. Where did you get your? Can you explain your legal income? And his colleagues know that I've taken on the ABLP under the leadership of Gaston Browne to court, and they know on each occasion the courts have ruled in my favour in a manner consistent with my position. The court has never ruled in favour of the actions of Gaston Browne against me. And his colleagues also know my position has been fully vindicated by the court of law, overwhelmingly. So why should they come now and go and line up behind of him to tout his lies and to malign me?
So why none of them, why none of his colleagues are saying anything? Do you think that Gaston business is more important to them than the business of the people and the country?
Well, let's be clear here. It's not that they know that Gaston doesn't trust them. They know that Gaston does not trust them or like them personally, because the derogatory things that he has told me over the years about them, their laziness, their incompetencies, their corruption. I mean, except for maybe 1 or 2 of the ministers in that cabinet that he has never bad talked to me, probably Sir Robin and Sir Malwin Joseph. He has bad talk every single one of his colleagues except for Sir Robin and Sir Malwin Joseph in the vilest, nastiest, derogatory terms to me. And I can say it publicly. And they're all looking out for themselves, J. Truth. You have to understand that. And the country will be damned at the end of the day. The country will suffer at the end of the day because they refuse to talk out. And had they talked out earlier and stood up to him, especially the senior members of his cabinet. But Gaston holds on to the power over their political lives and the wealth creation dreams that they might have, to standing on principle. They should have stood up on principle, what is just, to tell Gaston it is time for him to go, even now after the election. With these poor results, it's the furthest thing now from their minds. Just look at how much he blames them with impunity for his failures.
I have a recording of him blaming them as well.
He curses them out, ridicules them, and publicly disagrees and disgraces them while they maintain silence of lambs And you can play it. He says some of our candidates
Yeah,
have become
I have it right here.
exactly complacent and they were not mobilizing.
Candidates had become nonchalant, complacent, and they were not mobilizing to the extent a number of events had to be cancelled. Because I said to them, what you're doing there is that by not mobilizing, when you come there with your two long hand, you and maybe 3-4 people, you're not bussing in people. And then the UPP appears to have bigger crowds. What do you think will happen? The people will get the impression that momentum is on the side of the UPP. Yes. And it will undermine our chances of winning. I spoke to some of them unrelentingly and they did not listen. We had functions that were even organized by the executive, which is the most powerful organ in the party, barring the convention. So I asked them to put these mobilizational events in place, even to have walkthroughs. And at least 2 of the candidates, they canceled the events. Now I did recognize that despite the polls that were done about 2 months ago, that we started to lose momentum about a month ago. So, I mean, I posted in our chat group that, in a situation where they're saying that these candidates are losing momentum and they could lose. So we had some internal problems because of conceit and laziness. I felt as though some of my colleagues literally surrendered the seats. And for some reason, because they weren't well in touch, they were clueless. Many of them were fudging the figures too, because not that we didn't hold them accountable. They were just fudging the figures and they didn't put in the type of work that was necessary. And as a consequence, we almost lost the government.
So he blamed his colleagues for being lazy and purposely giving up their seat and losing the government.
Can you imagine that? Can you imagine he's blaming them? So he's only surrounding himself with yes men, with super ministries who dare not oppose him or support the national interest over his personal interests. Only, I would say, the illustrious Sir Robin Yearwood appears to be expendable at this time. So on the verge of celebrating Sir Robin Yearwood's milestone, Sir Robin Yearwood has done so much for this country. He's soon going to be 50 years celebrating in Parliament as a parliamentarian, probably going to achieve in the Guinness Book of Records in the world. And now, Gaston Browne, is telling Robin Yearwood, I'm kicking you out of cabinet to be the deputy speaker, to be the backbencher, and now to do what? Chair statutory corporations like APUA, like Transport Board, like National Mortgage and NAMCO. And these, in his twilight years, Sir Robin is disgracefully demoted to report to a minister who replaced him while Gaston Browne's wife, who was hardly ever in her office while she was a minister.
Right.
She could have taken the position as a backbencher. What he did, elevated her, adding on public works to housing and land, and put Robin and denigrate Robin in his elderly twilight years to disgrace him. I mean, if I was Robin, I would resign. Then he tells his colleagues that anyone who attempts to align with other parliamentarians in a government of national unity would be committed political suicide.
The boss ego big, man.
If his ego big. But the irony of it, any of his colleagues, he says, who he's caught even discussing one thing about national unity or government of consensus, they'll be committing political suicide. But at the same time, he says on his own radio station, out of his own mouth, that he can influence and can attempt to influence an opposition MP to cross the floor, to secure, to hold on to power, and there will be no political suicide involved. So it's okay for Gaston Browne to do it. See how dangerously egotistical this man is? It's all about him, not about the party. It's not about the country. Nothing else matters. Nothing else counts. Once Gaston Browne can remain as Prime Minister, nothing else counts.
The Antigua Brown-led party.
And he does not realize that the country clearly voted for a government of national unity. Represented the figures of the J2. 9, 1, 1, 9, 6. 9 for the Labour Party, 6 for the UPP, 1 BPM, and 1 independent. 9, 6, 1, 1. But Gaston will not listen. He's only interested in keeping himself in a tyrannical control of Antigua and Barbuda by any means necessary. The population must understand that. So he's surrounding himself with people that are just telling him in his ears, you are the Prime Minister, run the country, you have a minority government, but you're still government, you're still Prime Minister. Don't reach out, don't try and heal the country. Don't try and bring some semblance of healing and love to the country, to reach out to the opposition, to reach out to the other independent members for Barbuda and myself, to the NGOs, to the churches, to everybody. No. He's still on his old track, cursing people after an election day.
Right. You think he would be celebrating his glory and everything, but he's still complaining the same thing he doing before?
Same modus operandi from Gaston Browne. He can't change, he can't help himself.
Question. You see ABLP leader Gaston Browne is dragging down the party. How you think he performed?
He performed terribly. In fact, I will give you the figures here of how he performed. In fact, the number of registered electors. First of all, the turnout in St. John City West constituency, permit me to read here. 1. ABLP leader Gaston Browne was the lowest in all 17 constituencies at 64%. I said that earlier. I got 80%. Barbuda got 85%.
Right.
This is a 6 percentage points below the national average of 70%. The national average across all 17 constituencies was nearly 70%.
Right.
So 16 percentage points below the high of 80% among the 16 Antiguan constituencies, and 21 percentage points below the highest turnout of 85% in Barbuda. The number of registered electors in St. John City West, that's Prime Minister Browne's constituency, increased by 17% from 2,616 in 2018 to 3,053 in 2023. Yet votes for Gaston Browne in St. John City West declined by 11% from 1,457 in 2018 to 1,295 in 2023. So you see clearly his popularity is going down.
Yeah.
And I can tell the whole country this.
He's too full of himself, man. That's
When the US sent down these pollsters back a year and a half ago, it showed that Gaston Browne only had 41% national support in the country for Prime Minister. When Gaston Browne came in, J. Truth as Prime Minister in this country in 2014, he was like a rock star.
Yeah.
Everybody had so much faith in him.
Yeah.
He had nearly 79% support nationally.
Right.
And then another statistic you have to look at. 15 of the 17 ABLP candidates, including Gaston Browne, got less votes in 2023 than they did in 2018. So he has performed badly. There's no two ways about it that he has performed badly.
Okay, well, what do you think about his performance? What do you say the results of his performance say to us in the OECS and the wider CARICOM region?
Well, first of all, let's make no bones about it. As I've said, the majority of the people of Antigua and Barbuda, there was a vote of no confidence in Gaston Browne's leadership, in his style.
Right.
Okay? And people voted for change. They may not have changed the government, but their will was frustrated because we have first past the poll system. It's not like a presidential system in the United States. If it was a presidential system, he would have been gone. Gaston Browne's popularity is in decline, and the people did not want him to continue as Prime Minister. That's very, very clear. The people of Antigua and Barbuda voted for a government of national unity. That is clear also, as evidenced by the crushing defeat of all three political parties in St. Peter by an independent candidate. And I have to use myself as an example. You had the ALP, the whole machinery, plus the UPP, plus the DNA, and then me as an independent. Notwithstanding how long and notwithstanding the love and the bondship and the friendship and all what I've done for my constituents, I ran as an independent. And no independent candidate has ever created history the way I did. So that is a marker to show you that people want a government of national unity. And the election also was decided by 13 votes.
Right.
13 votes cast against the Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party by the DNA candidate in St. John City East.
Right.
That is in Melford Nicholas constituency where Howard Lovell won.
Right.
Lost. Those opposition votes, which did not go to the UPP, handed the marginal seat to the ABLP.
Right.
Melford Nicholas, who prevailed over the UPP candidate Howard Lovell only by 6 votes. And if those 13 votes cast against the ABLP in favour of the DNA candidate, Howard Lovell would have been the representative today.
Right, that one is
and
it.
Gaston Browne would not have been the Prime Minister.
Right.
So let us make no bones about that. So it's nothing for Gaston Browne to be rejoicing about. It's nothing for him to be cursing people about today.
Right.
It's nothing for him to be irritating people about. What he should be doing is elevating himself to a statesman, getting up on his radio station, calling for peace, tranquility, accepting the results in the country, and asking both political parties to come to some kind of an assortment and rapprochement.
Talking about that, with you saying about statesman, I have a clip I was listening earlier, and I think it's with a Mr. Astafan out of Dominica, and he had some things to say about Gaston's style. Let me see if I can find it. This should be
Dwight
one.
Astafan,
Dwight
I think
Astafan, yeah.
It's not church. Politics doesn't have to be dirty and personal and vicious and spiteful like that. Politics needs to be issues based. I have said that in my opinion, Mr. Browne is not temperamentally suited to lead the country. That is my strong opinion. This is not a personal attack on Mr. Browne. It is just an assessment of him and an evaluation as to whether he has the temperament to do the job. And I will tell you this. I'm willing to bet $5, $6, $7 that Mr. Browne's pledge to be a statesman will be broken very, very quickly and repeatedly. I don't think he can help himself, despite the pledge to be statesmanlike, when he was unable to be statesmanlike for the last 8 years. It's his nature. He can't just change like that. It won't happen. The abuse will come. I mean, I am on the receiving end of some of it, but I'm not going to allow that kind of nonsense to distract me. That can't put water in people's pipes. That can't put a roof on people's heads. It can't give them jobs to buy food for their families. It cannot give them energy for their homes. It cannot give them the dignity and the hope that they need. So if he is going to be preoccupied with personal vendettas and ad hominem attacks, then clearly he's in the wrong job. He should just go around cussing people and let somebody else run the country, because he also has not done a good job at all over the last 8 years running the country.
And this is coming from Dwight Astafan, and he was former Labour Party government minister in St. Kitts, right?
He's a former Labour Party minister for many years. He was Minister of National Security, he was Minister of Tourism. He was a member of Parliament for nearly 15, 16 years, and he's a veteran politician. I have to tell you, I agree with every single word. I do not think that the Prime Minister has the emotional temperament that matches his intellect.
Yeah.
He's a very intelligent guy, full of intellect, but too emotional, too erratic. And his emotions get the better of his. How can you be accusing APU workers of sabotaging the water in this country?
Right.
And you have no proof, you have no tangible evidence.
Right.
And on the eve of the election, even after the election now, that you're accusing these innocent people. Where's the evidence? They have families. Why would they want? They have friends. Why would they want to sabotage their own families and their friends and in their villages, their fellow villagers, of getting running water from APUA?
Right. Gaston likes, he's been doing it, he's been going on his media, and he's just running about. So, to be a statesman, in my own opinion, I don't think so. He's too emotional. All it takes is for somebody to throw the bait, and he bite the bait.
He answers every single thing.
Every single thing.
He's not a J-True to be.
No, exactly. I'm regular road man, right?
Or me.
Exactly.
Regular, what they used to call, whatever they want to call me, Vagabond, whatever. But come on, the man's Prime Minister.
Yes.
You've never heard V.C. Bird, Lester Bird, Baldwin Spencer, or no other regional Prime Minister
go on like that. That is facts. That is facts.
And he does not intend to stop. It shows you he has no intention of stopping.
Right. Given the problems that you've encountered with the leadership of the party in which you served for 2 decades, given that being the Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party, how difficult was it contesting this election?
Very difficult, J-True, to be honest, and I've always tried to be as honest as I can. Very sad, very hurtful, and extremely difficult for me personally and for my family. But very necessary for the freedom, for democracy, for what I stand on, and what I believe in, for my constituents, for my country that I love so much, as being a patriotic man. And if I did not love this country and my constituents, I would have walked away from it. Because you have to see, after the general elections in 2014, especially towards the end of the term, member for St. John City West, the Prime Minister, he began conducting himself in an openly hostile way towards me, totally marginalizing me. And I found that my efforts to obtain his support in Cabinet and his assistance to fund necessary infrastructure projects in my constituency were consistently frustrated and blocked. When the Prime Minister can look me in the eye and tell me, oh, you already win overwhelmingly, you don't need no roads, you don't need no infrastructure, people love you, they can vote for you anyhow. And I had to say to him, Mr. Prime Minister, we have the worst, decrepit, rundown, ramshackle roads in the entire country.
Right.
And these people in St. Peter's, they pay taxes, they pay property tax, they pay medical benefits, social security, statutory deductions, APUA. They're residents, they're citizens, they're Antiguans. How could you say because they love me and because they support me? God damn it, they've supported the Labour Party since 1956 under Donald Shepherd, when it was one constituency with St. Philip's North, with Robin's constituency. It was one constituency back then.
Right.
And then under Uncle Joe Myers, and then Uncle Jeremy, and now under Asot Michael for 18 years. And you could tell me they must take love to the bank? And his attitude for those people, J. Truth, was that they would vote for the Labour Party anyway. So no need to take up state resources and taxpayers' money and the Treasury money to spend on them. But what Gaston Browne's reckless neglect and denial of my constituents, their rights, what they really deserved as taxpayers, and the poor judgment on his part, he underestimated them. It was also being done because of his hostility and his bitterness, and the bile that he has that ran so deep that he thought that by spiting me, Asot Michael, that he would be depriving the people of St. Peter, that he could get them to blame me, that by spiting me he could get them to turn against me.
Right.
And he thought that they would reject me in turn as their representative come on election day. He thought so back in 2018. And then he thought so again in 2023. But he had no hesitancy in punishing those innocent people, hoping that they would punish me. So what did they do? They punished him, and they punished his party. He nearly lost the election.
Right.
He surely lost the seat in St. Peter.
Right.
But he nearly lost the election. But it goes further than that. He violated, he trampled on their rights. He violated the very constitution that he's the leader of. The constitution of the anti-Zimbabwe Labour Party.
Yes.
And the rule of law, to remove me from the slate of candidates, where the very own people in this constituency, the Labour Party people, have a right. They have a right to choose their own candidates and to decide who they want to represent them. And still he refused. I took the matter to court and I won. And still he refused to relent, ignoring the rule of law as the highest law-abiding or the law-maker in the country.
Right.
He should set an example for young people to follow. And he continued to behave like a law unto himself.
Lawless.
Totally lawless.
Yeah.
So he called the election. And he tried hard to knock me out, my brother. Hard. But he didn't know he's a Muhammad Ali and a Tyson he was dealing with. He don't know how hard this man is made of.
Right.
He think because I was laying low
He no
all
man.
along.
He no man. We just feel
No,
he
but
could
because I was not answering him.
Yeah.
Week in, week out, this man was antagonizing me.
Personal.
And I was not answering him for over 2 years on his radio station. He
Yes.
tried hard to knock me out. In fact, he told me he thump me and lick me down. Let me tell you something, And I want this country to understand that. It's not the first time Gaston Browne behaved like that.
Right.
Back in 1999, when Lester Bird brought him and I brought him into his government, and I was not elected, Lester Bird gave him the Ministry of Planning. He was not pleased. And one Labour Day, in those days we had Labour Day down by CJ's, right at the bottom where the VC Bird bus was not built then.
Right.
He couldn't take it out on Lester Bird. And he came up to me with a whole crowd of all the Labour Party people who wanted to fight me. And Suki and Popcorn and hundreds of Labour Party people nearly lick him down because he pushed me. He thugged me and pushed me. And tell me, you. And I wouldn't repeat the expletives and the racist comments he made.
Right.
People like you had our forefathers bonded up in slavery. And all kind of things because Lester Bird gave him Ministry of Planning. Because Lester Bird never trusted him. He wanted Minister of Finance, and the truth is Lester Bird never trusted him.
Right.
He couldn't take it out in Lester. And when Leicester and the crowd went and tell Leicester, because Leicester was still speaking on the podium, that the man want to fight me, Leicester ordered him out the match. Leicester nearly came and licked him down. And Leicester tell him, you don't get out of this match. No, this was a Labour Party match, on a Labour Day. I did the man nothing. But it's to show you the hostility, the hatred that he had for me. Back then, back in 1999. But, I forgive. Knowing Asot, Mike, I forgive anybody. I have no enemies. So, when we lost the election in 2004, we decided we were the two youngest Turks on the block. I was 34, he was 37, and we had to rebuild the Labour Party. Leicester lost his seat, Weber had lost his seat, all the stalwarts. So only 4 members of Parliament, and it was Sir Robin and Gaston, Cutie Benjamin, myself. The Labour Party was at its lowest ebb. And we took the fight to the UPP for 10 years. And we also took the fight to Leicester and the Bird Dynasty. And we won the second convention. And I won that convention for him. So, it has been a very difficult time. It has been a very hurtful time. I really felt betrayed by him. And a deep sense of betrayal. Because, I became very close to him in those 10 years. I did a lot for him personally. I've said on this station and other media, my mom lent him a lot of money. He had no money to finish his mall out at South Mall. And my mom lent him over 200,000 US over 10, 12 years ago, and up to now he's not paid it back $1. My mom's nephew, Henri Depps, in Guadeloupe, over 800,000 US or $2 million to buy all the paraphernalia for the Labour Party. That was back in 2013 that he flew my nephew up to Miami. There was no Hadid, no Barrett, no Eder, no big financier, Calvin Ian, none of them to fund the Labour Party. And he took a little 35-year-old boy, my first cousin, and wanted to sign all kind of legal documents to sell him 100 acres of land and give him the world from Antigua. My nephew refused to take anything in writing. And, all my family savings, all my mom's businesses, from shoe stores, from the casino, inheritance from her husband, her father from Guadeloupe, everything. She drew out all the fixed deposits. Millions of dollars to fund the Labour Party's lowest ebb from 2004 to 2014. To the extent that we actually bankrupted ourselves financially. After the 2014 election, I had to sell 17 acres of land, beautiful, prime waterfront land, including the beautiful jet of Lorry Bay. To bail myself out of bankruptcy and my family, because he refused to pay us back a cent. This guy's heartless, man, heartless. And the question Antiguans must ask themselves after this election is if Gaston Alfonso Browne could do Asot Michael and his family that, which other poor innocent Antiguan and Barbudan he will not do the same? Which other Antiguan? I remember on a Christmas Eve, I remember on a carnival, a Juve, a cricket, at football, we would go to all the social events. Because he was an introvert. He wouldn't go nowhere. I had to go and pick him up on Christmas Eve and tell him, look man, you must mix with people. You got to give out money, you got to help people, you got to go online, you got to go to football. He would go to love football. He play football and so. We never had big crowds and in the morning. I'll put him on my sister's float, Royal Ramblers, and make him feel nice and dance up and go Juve morning, go Christmas Eve,
so
walk on the bottom. I block him into meeting and loving people and showing that he's a people person. Put 10,000 in one pocket, 10,000 in the next pocket, tell him you must give it out of Fort James, all that. He have bought his name. And if he could do Asot Michael what he has done me and my family, my late mother and my sisters, to curse us and to call us all kind of names and derogatory and nastiness, what else he would not do the poor unsuspected Antiguan and Barbuda?
Well, we already see what he would do. He side on the side of tyranny when them tear gas innocent protesters and all them.
Exactly, tear gas innocent protesters just because they want their right. To say they don't want to be vaccinated.
Exactly.
Can you imagine? Sent home innocent nurses and doctors and frontline workers.
Pension.
Take away 2-3 months of their salary, J2.
Yes.
That can't be right. I got him in Parliament, say talk to people with love in your heart, man. Talk with love. Do like Mia Motley. Take a page out to Prime Minister Mia Motley. Page of a book. Not this tyrannical dictator that we have in this country now. I never expected this from Gaston Browne. Never did in the wildest dreams did I expect it. Never, and everybody warned me. The late Elpert Winter, all of them, Stephen Winter, he's still alive. They told me, they said, you do not know, you're moving less the bird to put. You do not know who you put in there.
Right.
This guy grew up in abject poverty, but you do not know that he has a chip on his shoulder.
Right.
And he wants to be an instant billionaire overnight. And you will trample every single person in his way.
To get
And
that.
he will not remember where he came from. And it's sad. It's really sad. Because I want to tell you, in all honesty in the eyes of God, that I was naive. I was totally naive and misled.
Right.
I never expected this from Gaston Browne.
You see, the funny thing is, right? They talk about you, they talk about me, they talk about our behavior, but they make excuses for Gaston and his behavior. And yeah, I could never understand it. But back to your win as an independent. Do you think that your win as an independent, or is your win as an independent candidate a message to Gaston Browne and perhaps the other regional leaders?
Yeah, it is. And I'm extremely proud of the vindication of my contribution to public life. I think that it's a serious message, not just to Gaston Browne, to also other regional leaders. That you can't take the people of the country for granted. You must never take the electorate for granted.
Right.
Because you must realize that, you know, it's a job that they give us.
Right.
And that job expires sometime. Whether you call early elections 2 years before the due date, or you call it a year before, that you are given a job of service. And you must always act with humility in your hearts and be humble. And you cannot think that you're better than people and enrich yourself at the back of poor people.
Right.
And that you and your family and your cronies alone must live in your country. You must carry people with you. You must empower people. You cannot speak in just nice cliche terms about economic empowerment and social development and social economic empowerment for the people, and people don't see it. And that's what happened in this election. He can blame it on a multitude of things. He can blame it on Asot Michael. He can blame it on incompetencies of his ministers, the laziness of his ministers. Because that's what he's doing now. He's blaming it on everybody else.
He's blaming everybody else
except himself.
Facts.
And, you know, he could say that, you know, the people and his ministers did not do a good job, and they were lazy, and they were fudging numbers, and they were lying, and they did not put in the hard work, and that's
why... give up their seat.
And correct, and that's why the poor meetings were attended by the Labour Party, and the UPP had big meetings.
Right.
But the point of the matter is that you must never, ever forget that the people that you offer yourself to serve must always be at the forefront of everything you do. Every single thing you do.
Right.
He took the people for granted. Gaston Browne took the people for granted. He thinks because he built maybe 10 reverse osmosis plants and announced to the country, I've spent $150 million in 1 year on these reverse osmosis plants.
Right.
But if the people are not getting the water, it doesn't mean one iota to them.
Precisely.
That you spent $500 million on these plants.
Right.
You probably built them too late.
Because if I'm hungry and you're in the kitchen cooking, no matter what you're cooking, if I'm not eating, the kitchen don't make no sense.
Good.
Exactly.
The food can smell good as hell.
Exactly.
But if you're not sharing the food with me and giving me a piece of it, what difference does it make to me?
Exactly.
You know, so one of the things that needs to go right in our national family in this country is also the adequate allocation of fair resources.
Right.
And he did not do that. He victimized constituencies. He victimized constituencies like Pringle's constituency. That's why Pringle won back his seat.
Right.
He victimized St. Peter's. And I am going to advocate much, much stronger, not that I've not in the past, but without fear or favor,
right,
not just for St. Peter's, but for all of the constituencies, the 16 constituencies in Antigua and in Barbuda, for fair and equitable allocation of state resources, whether it be roads, whether it be water, whether it be housing, whether it be healthcare, whether it be clinics. Because I have to say to you that every single Antiguan pay their fair share of taxes. They deserve to get proper, in return, government resources.
Right.
The resources don't belong to a few Labour Party,
right,
or a few UPP constituencies.
We all are the shareholders.
We all are the shareholders.
Facts.
So I think that is a strong message, and the message is clear that the government should, and the Prime Minister, understand that the electorate is not pleased with them.
Right.
And certain things must be done. And I think the people voted for a government of national unity. That's why the results came out like that, 9-6-1-1. And as I said earlier, Prime Minister Browne should be reaching out to the opposition and to the other members of the House and to the NGOs and to the churches to really see how we could settle down this country.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to go back to the polls now. I would not advocate to subject this country and divide this country to a new fresh elections. I think we have gone through a lot in the last 12 months in terms of elections. They're very divisive. They divide families. They divide people, brother and sister, mother and father, husband and wives. And we need to settle down and move forward in the interest of rebuilding this country and continue developing it.
Right.
But we all have to work together as a family.
So let me ask you a question. I'm going to say this I'm going to say this by ear in front of everybody now. Come and say up at a gallery one time. Start your own party and like I run against Gaston. Me want to run in a Gaston Constituency next election. What you do?
Well, my brother, historically, third parties don't work in the Caribbean. That does not mean...
What do you mean by third party? Historically, independents don't
Well,
win.
I know you would say that, and that was what I was just going to say. My brother. So that does not mean it's impossible in Antigua.
Right.
And a lot of people have been reaching out to me, both in Antigua and outside of Antigua.
Right.
And they say, Asot, with your popularity in this country, why don't you really start a third party?
Yeah, man, I really
Get
can.
a good cadre of
Trust me.
intelligent, respectful, people with integrity, people that love this country, and really start your own party.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, people within my constituency, within the country, and people outside the country. But those are things that we'll have to look at, not rush into it.
You sure? But me they listen to your interview, and I remember what radio station you be, and you say something about what you mean say? Two vex, man, I have the clip.
But
something
I'll tell you.
The Antigua and Barbie, the Labour Party. So let me ask
that
you.
was a slip of the tongue.
Yeah. So if Gaston tell him to come back, you go back.
I will not refuse to do anything in the interest of my country. One thing I can tell you tonight, in no uncertain terms, I will not serve under Gaston Browne.
Under Gaston Browne,
as Prime Minister.
All right.
That doesn't mean that I will not serve under a national government of national unity.
Right.
But there will have to be a new Prime Minister.
Right, new Prime
Other
Minister.
than Gaston Browne.
Right. All right.
I will not serve under Gaston Browne as Prime Minister. I think Gaston Browne should resign.
Yeah, me too.
I really think that Gaston Browne,
he
has a contribution to make.
Right.
He can be a minister.
Right.
He could be something else.
Right.
But not Prime Minister.
Resign as Prime Minister.
I totally agree, with Mr. Dwyer Astavan, that his emotional... His emotional...
He coming like a me. As soon as me hear somebody say something up on my life.
Emotional temperament does not match his intellectual ability to lead any country.
Last question, my view, before we open the phone line for a little 10-15 minutes, because we done gone over. You think the ABLP leadership have any regrets about removing you from the slate of candidates?
If they do have regrets, Truth, the truth is they're too ashamed.
Right.
They will not admit that they have those regrets. They're too embarrassed with their performance in the recent election. But, I'm not here to downplay and to rub their face into the dirt. What they should really be doing, as I said, is taking stock of the result of the election and what it means in terms of the people's interests, in greater citizen participation, in getting more people involved, in better governance, in listening to the people more, in how people would like their affairs to be handled. But they're not doing that. And the mission to cancel others, including myself, from the political life of our country, it started with Gaston Browne. And while my other colleagues stood aside and looked, during the election campaign, some of his colleagues joined him and called with all guns blazing, and I have no problem with that. He said that they didn't. I know they didn't. I mean, it's not just Chet Green who came up here a few days before the election. You had Melford Nicholas and you had other candidates, Samantha Marshall and others who went up to Pace Village and also campaigned months before the election. And that's politics. I have no difficulty with that. Politicians must support the party leader to score political points, but the elections are over. The elections are over, and the people have spoken, and there are lessons to be learned from the election, which I think that are important, but based on the divisive, the inflammatory rhetoric that is coming from the Prime Minister, still being engaged by Gaston Browne after the general election, it appears that the Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party is really stone deaf. They're tone deaf on what the people are saying. and that they have no real interest in changing the modus operandi and the undemocratic style of governance which they're so accustomed to.
Right.
Conducting themselves in isolating the people of this country. They sit in the White Lily offices. They don't go out and meet the people except at election time. And that's why they really got a rude awakening. Because they're not in touch. They're not tactile. They're not touching flesh with the people during the 5-year period.
Right.
And so I had a democratic right to seek to represent the people of St. Peter. And they had a democratic right to elect me. And the leaders of the ABLP should really consider that carefully. And the violations of the party and the Constitution. But unfortunately, under the Labour Party and under Gaston Browne, he developed great comfort. Not just trampling my rights. I want you to understand, he trampled every single right. Your rights as a member of St. Peter.
Right.
Whether you voted for me or you did not vote for me. So...
How you do? Ask me who I vote for?
Well, it's your right who you voted for. I would have hoped that you voted for me, but listen to me. I am happy with every single voter that came out to vote.
Right.
We had the highest turnout of 80%. I thank the people who voted for Warden Turner. I thank the people who voted for Trevor and Harriet.
If you're in the comment section for my live and say thank the people that vote for Warden Turner, they get one black.
Well.
Black. One time.
Oh, Lord,
outside.
Oh, God, luck.
Warden Turner. Warden top heal me because of politics.
But for what?
But do you know something, J. Truth? I walk down the road this man and say good morning in answer.
J. Truth, the night of election, we had a little motorcade, a victory motorcade.
Yeah.
We go down by the man house. They big him up,
Yeah.
Big him out.
Yeah.
The man don't come out the house, he send out the guy Ren, have one big conduct, pull gun and all, and so drive us out the house and so. Then we leave his house, I tell him let's go, they have a video there, so my people start cussing him and so. We drive down with Peter Red now. Look at the difference, look at the mantle of Peter Red.
Right.
We wake up Peter Red now. Peter Red in his bed asleep.
Yeah.
And his lovely mother, went upstairs. I went up in his room, he back to shower, tell him put on his clothes. Come down, take pictures with us, hug me up, everything, congratulate me. Meet all my people.
Yeah.
He said, where to send them to Rizan and Sarai, I want to hug them up.
Yeah.
They were all the way down.
Yeah. Congratulatory. Right.
He walked from his house barefoot and go all the way to the back of the motorcade
with Rizan in there. Right.
And he walked back with me and so forth.
Right.
Go back in his house, get beers, get sodas, everything for us,
right,
and bring back to our car. You see the difference between Peter
man.
and Warden?
They're bitter.
If they're bitter,
man.
they're bitter, they pump us.
And then don't win, and then till bitter.
Can you imagine that? He
gets senator until bitter.
Oh my God.
Hey, want to ask you something?
I hope he's going to work with the people of St. Peter.
So if tomorrow morning Warden come for breakfast, you know let him?
Of course I'm letting him in. And I'm telling the people of St. Peter, with all them pretty billboards, I'm going to hold him to it. I'm going to hold him.
Yeah, man, I want to see the development of the afternoon.
I'm very serious about this because there was absolutely nothing in the Labour Party, beautiful 163 page, about all of them billboards that you put up with the business hub and all of the things you're doing, gun clubs and Lightfoot and Fidget Creek and Param and so forth. So I intend to work with the Prime Minister and with him and the government of the day and with Mr. Warden Turner, because poor Peter Red didn't advertise he can do all that for the constituency. Peter Red never made all them promises. I'm the sitting member of Parliament now. So I'm going to have dialogue with them. And I'm going to say to Mr. Warden Turner.
But you were the sitting member of Parliament and then I come to you for building on business.
My brother, I'm going to sit with him and say, I would like to find out how do you plan to achieve these things. You're a senator now, aren't you? You intend to run again. Otherwise, Gaston won't put him in the Senate.
Senator,
So he has to come.
But now win again. So what you do? You win another term and lose again.
He
will win again. He now win in the next election. So what Gaston put it there? Gaston and all lose.
Well, trust me. Warden will not be running again. Knowing Warden, and I know Warden. He never come out and say, I won. No. But Warden was only running in the first place, number one. To enrich himself and to build up his quarry and build up his heavy duty equipment. Hoping that Gaston will give him Minister of Public Works.
And
he's very, very hurt and cut up.
He's
still hoping that Gaston will make him Junior Minister of Public Works.
Oh my. But Mr. Warden, we have a phone call coming in. I can take some calls now.
Sure.
And see. Hello, good night, caller. Hello, good night, caller.
Yeah, good night. I want Yes, good night, you hear me?
Yeah, pay attention to the phone call, not the live, because the live a bit delayed.
So I realize the delay. Okay, I want to ask Mr. Asot Michael this.
Yes, sir.
The lands and them at Willikes that was sold, 17 acres that you sold, the balance of lands, all those offshore islands and the rest coming down into Willikes, and where Ackley Giant is to be broken down if he ever passed. Who sold those lands to the person that you sold your house to? And also the last thing I want to say to you, in the 2009 motorcade, when you won your keys, you had a motorcade, and that time I had just purchased a brand new Pathfinder. And my Pathfinder was hit by a car, a rental car drove by Reppy. And I tried, with the police, everything came. Up to this day, I came right at your property at Jar Hill to talk to you about it. And I'm not going to say things on the ear to offend you. But I want to know if you can get in touch with me. I was heartbroken because it was my new brand Jeep, those new Jeeps that came out. I never got paid for it. So I want to know if you and me can talk and you can do something about that, because I am still hurt for what happened. But I want you to really explain to me who sold those lands coming down into villages by the cotton house to that gentleman up there. Because I know you did not have that portion of land. So let me know so the people of villages can know who did.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you for your question. First, I only sold 17 acres of land to Lord Bowen Thyssen. There was another 50 plus acres of land that was owned by Jeff Hadid and his brother Eddie Hadid and Bernadette Sherman that was sold. They bought it from the Cornelius family. They sold those lands. Then there's another approximately maybe 185 acres of land that was owned by a company called Astro Holdings Limited, in which the government of Antigua and Barbuda was at least a 25% shareholding. And those lands was also sold to the Bowen. The Bowen bought a lot of land. In fact, he bought across the sea. He bought Maiden Island. I understand that he also bought Maiden Island. I don't know what other islands he bought, if he bought any other. But I can definitively say that he bought 17 acres from me that I was forced to sell. I did get a good price for it. He bought 50 acres from Jeff and his brothers, Jeff Hadid and Eddie Hadid and his brothers and sisters. And then he bought 185 acres that was belonging to a company called Astro Holdings. Those were lands that were originally Crown lands that George Walters and Donald Halstead had given to Platt Mills, a lawyer that did legal fees. He's dead now. Back in 1973 or 74 for legal fees that they did cases for the PLM government. But the government retained 25% shares in that company. That was also sold to him. I think the only lands that the Bowen has not bought up there is the Gore. Gore's drugstore. He refused to sell to him. He did not. And also the Eckert, Charles Eckert. She has a father and a daughter, has 2 houses going up to Lorry Bay. To answer your question about Reptile, you said it was last election, 2018 or 2009?
I think 2008, he said, something like that.
2008?
Yeah, something only.
Okay, I really don't recall that. I mean, if Reptile worked for me and it was a rent-a-car, the rent-a-car should have had insurance. I'm not responsible for it. In fact, all my rent-a-cars that I rent, even this last election, I make sure that I do not rent cars without having proper insurance.
Facts.
So I don't see why I should have to pay for the insurance for if Reptile Elvis Anthony gets into an accident. I would not like to discuss that on the radio. You can reach out to me next week. 464-5051, or you can come to my office. If I roughed you up at my home, I apologize, but I probably had a reason. Maybe you wanted me to pay it out of my pocket and not claim against the insurance.
Right.
But if I roughed you up, I apologize. Sometimes I do get off in a little tantrum if I have my rights and I feel I do. But let's discuss it.
Right.
Not a problem, my brother.
If one thing, right? If one thing we read about you're straightforward now. You're straightforward bars. Trust me. That way. Anyway, let me get to the next caller. Hello, good night, caller.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Yeah, I want to ask Mr. Michael,
two questions.
Sure.
Why the IMF reports, the yearly reports have not been published since 2014? And what is the plan you think, Santi, going forward with those 95 loans that we have on the books? How are we going to deal with those loans?
I didn't hear the second question. Could you repeat the second question?
The second question, how are you going to deal with those 95 loans that we have on the books?
Which 95 loans, sir? There's more than 95 loans we have on the books.
I think since Gaston Browne is in power, I think we have around 95 loans on the book. Put 95 loans on the book. So I want to know, how are we going to deal with those loans?
First of all, the IMF reports, thank you for your question, caller. The IMF Article 4 report is customary. The government does not have to publish it, but by policy and good governance, and the Prime Minister have always said he's a fully transparent Prime Minister. And I knew under Lester Bird's administration, we always made sure that it was published, and even under John E. St. Luce as the Minister of Finance. But of course, because of the mismanagement of the Gaston Browne's administration, and especially he as Minister of Finance, where he has been borrowing excessively and using this new corporation called NAMCO to actually put monies that are owned by the central government and siphoning off monies that should rightfully go into the treasury and the public purse. For example, the dividends of Western Oil Company, dividends of state insurance and other statutory corporations. And that he's putting those monies into this newly created entity where he has nearly 4 or 5 ministers sitting. Although he had public servants sitting on this, he has 4 or 5 ministers sitting on this National Asset Management Company Limited, which he now proposes to put back Robin Yearwood as the chairman. It's not right, and I know the IMF is not pleased about it, and he really should, being such a Prime Minister who advocates for good governance and transparency, he should really bring the Article 4 IMF report to the public and publish it on the government website. It's more than something 64 loans, what you just said. There are hundreds of loans that Gaston Browne have borrowed, that all of these loans have not been tabled to Parliament. And there are also no audited financial statements, and Mr. Weston himself, his own junior Minister of Finance, have called upon him to bring audited financial statements for that housing company where hundreds of millions of dollars is spent. Probably over $500 million have been spent into the National Housing Company Limited. And he has never brought audited financial statements. Yes, he's brought financial statements, but he needs to bring full audited financial statements, whether it's quarterly, semi-annually, or annually, to the Parliament of Antigua and Barbuda. I hope that answers your question, sir.
All right. While we wait for the next caller, Mr. Michael, I'm serious about the I'll start a new party now, and I'm going against Gaston.
Well, as I told you, if the people calls, whatever the people's voices, the
so
people
so where I need, I want to start a petition, so you can see how much people want it. All right, I'm going to start the petition tomorrow. Here we have another caller. Does it seem like the same man that I called about the Jeep? Hello, good night.
Hi, good night.
Yes, sir.
Yes, again, Mr. Michael.
Yes, sir.
You are saying that you brought Gaston into politics. To me, I know where I got my secrets from, but I could remember a time ago what the man named Rappaport was cheating him. Yeah, was cheating him with SUVs and all sort of things as to keep him quiet. And then after that was not working, Lester cheated him to that position of being a politician because there was something inside of that Swiss bank that he knew, and he probably was doing the talk, and they were cheating him. And I remember I was in proximity to someone around that bank at the time I heard the conversation. So I know that's the situation that introduced him into politics.
Carla.
After knowing so much.
Carla. Yeah, you have to be careful, right? Because the way how you talk like you know. Where you over here and where you know two different things, right? So just make sure you know and you land yourself in non-legal issues for whatever, because... Well, we're waiting on the question. Go ahead. We just advise you still, but go ahead.
Yeah, but I thought to say your show is for entertainment purposes only.
No. My show is for entertainment purpose. You can call in on my show and just say what you're saying as fact, and then your My disclaimer is for me, not for you.
Okay.
So you have to be careful of what you call in and state as a fact.
Yeah, well, you see, some deep information is known, right? But you just can't mention them. That's all, but you're correct.
Cool.
Yeah.
He's still waiting for the question. The next question.
Well, that's what I wanted to comment about, because there was another situation at Emerald Cove that caused another person to get into politics too. Hello?
Yeah, we're still here.
Yeah, that situation that caused that other person to become Minister of Health at the time, because of something that transpired at the so-called Emerald Cove, where there was some big amount of funds up there at the time to be taken into a bank to launder. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Carla. Just to make you know, if the CID or the ONDCB call me and tell me they want the number of that caller, may give them your phone number, right? Because you sound like you know of these things and things and things and things, and you're not tell them, buddy. Here is not the place for you to divulge that. If you have information about any crime or any laundering or whatever, the police and the ONDCP is who to call, sir. Thank you very much. All right? All right. Next caller. Oh, sorry about that caller. Just missed your call. Right there when you just call. Call back the caller. Somebody say, can you? All right. Caller, call in. Hello, good night.
Hello, good night.
Good night.
Right.
Congratulations, Mr. Michael, once again.
Thank you very much, my dear.
People of Antigua love you dearly.
Thank you.
My question to you is, do you have aspirations of rejoining the Antigua Labour Party? If so, why? And also, during this term that you'll be in Parliament, what are some of the things you're planning on challenging our present administration in power? What are you presently going to challenge them on in Parliament? We're trying to figure out this.
Thank you, caller.
Thank you very much for your question, my dear. Very constructive question. It's not that I have any plans in rejoining the Labour Party. I've always said the very act that I ran independent does not exclude me. I'm still very much a member of the Labour Party, despite the rhetoric that Gaston Browne says that because I ran as an independent candidate, I'm no longer a member of the Labour Party. Total foolishness and utter nonsense that comes from the mouth of he and his mouthpiece, Max Hurst, who does not even understand British law. He never practiced as a lawyer for one day in his life. He has a law degree from the US, that's Max Hurst, and does not have a clue. In fact, the judge in the judgment discredited all his witness statements and said she came short of calling him a goddamn liar. That's Max Hurst, that's a fact, and the judgment is there. But just to say that the judgment is very clear that I'm still a member of the Labour Party, I can attend all executive meetings. Gaston Browne now saying the Code of Ethics says that I should not run independent. By virtue of me running independent, that I've cancelled my membership. Total nonsense. You have to look at the circumstances. He forced me illegally by cancelling me off of the Labour Party ticket to run independent, in defiance and in contravention of a judgment which he is in breach of, and which I intend and have instructed my lawyers to bring contempt of court proceedings against this man. I'd given him a break before the election. But now if he's going to continue with his rhetoric and his nastiness and his bile against me on his radio station and his vindictiveness, I have no other choice but to bring contempt proceedings against Gaston Browne et al. For contempt, because he's in contempt. So it's not a matter of me rejoining. I consider myself still a member of the Labour Party. But as I said earlier, my dear, I will do whatever is necessary in the interest of national unity and in this country. So if there's supposed to be a coalition government tomorrow, I will do it. If there's supposed to be a joining between the Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party and the UPP and a new Prime Minister emerges, I'll be for it. There's good and bad in each party. There's good talent in the Labour Party, there's good talent in the UPP. The people of this country have spoken. It is very clear, I can't say it no louder. 53% of the country voted against Gaston Browne and Labour Party. The figures are there. That doesn't mean I'm not a member of the Labour Party. Does not mean that I hate the Labour Party. Now, the second part of your question is what would I advocate for The strongest things that I will advocate immediately in Parliament is for fairness, equity, for my constituents who have been victimized in terms of infrastructure. Infrastructure. Not just the Parham Harbour development. Yes, I want to see the Parham Harbour development and the OAS study implemented. I really would like to see that started, and I'm going to fight for some CIP money, just like how he announced his first cabinet meeting that he's taking CIP money to fix roads. Well, then I want some of that CIP money to fix roads in Parham and in Payson and Fidget Creek and Vernon's and in Lightfoot and all over. And I'm going to advocate for it. And this time, let me tell you, it's not going to be easy. Because if Gaston Browne thinks that because his wife is Minister of Public Works and he's the de facto Minister of Public Works, he's going to victimize the people of St. Peter's worse than ever before, I will take him to court. Asot Anthony Michael is pledging tonight on J Truth's show that I will take him to court on this matter. If we don't get a proper clinic in Pierce Village and a decent brand new clinic in Parham, I will take him to court. I will bring a class action suit and get thousands, including the UPP people that vote against me and the people that vote for Warden will sign the petition. Because at the end of the day, you know why? The election is finished. And people love their constituency.
And they want
roads. And they want proper clinic. And they want proper sporting facilities. And they want water.
Fact.
And they don't love Gaston Browne or Asot Michael more than themselves.
Fact.
So whatever is in their interest, they're going to support.
Fact.
So those are some of the important things in the first 90 to 120 days that Asot Michael will be advocating for.
Facts.
Thank you, my dear.
We're going to take 3 more callers, people. Hello, good night.
Hello, good night.
Good night.
Good night, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Pay attention to the call, not the live. The live is delayed.
Oh, hello, good night.
Night.
I have a question to ask. When public works private contractors are going to get paid?
That's the question?
Yes, that's all I wanted to know.
Alright. I don't know how you would know the answer to that.
I don't know the answer to that, my brother, but I would really hope and I empathize and sympathize with you all. It's a burning shame that we have 2 major contractors in this country, or 3 major contractors that were paid out millions of dollars prior to the general elections. I don't want to call their names on your show, J Truth, but I know for a fact that there were 3 major contractors, and you know, my dear caller, who I'm speaking about, there are 2 Syrians and 1 black indigenous Antiguan that we all know. They were paid out millions of dollars leading up to the general election to fund the Labour Party campaign. And when you have over 120 little petty contractors that have not been paid, not just at Public Works, but also the National Solid Waste Authority. I understand in the National Solid Waste Authority you have nearly $4 million outstanding to little truckers, to little subcontractors. How could that be right? How could that be conscionable? Just not right. And I would really hope that the Prime Minister and Minister of Finance would put things in place now that the election is over to get those funds paid to you all in an expeditious manner. You all have families to support, you have bills to pay, you have mortgages, you have your car loans.
But I'll not Gaston I care about that. Gaston don't care. Sorry about that, caller. Alright. Hello, good night.
Good evening.
Good night.
Good night.
Yeah, wait to come on.
Yeah, you're on the live, man. You're on the live. Talk.
Okay. Good evening.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm just calling because somebody called and said that I hit their pathfinder.
Hey, Reptile, how you doing, my brother? And you have me taking blows for you, my brother.
Yeah, 2009 or 2008.
Yeah.
Where if I hit his pathfinder, the policeman and them supposed to come and report it, and then we go and the insurance deal with it. So I just want the caller to hear me. If he's looking for money, he can come to Asot Michael and ask Asot Michael to help him with some money. Don't come and talk about I hit his car 2009 or 2008 or something like that.
So you see, you try to use for your name to get money from Asot.
It seems like that's what he's doing. From 2009 or 2008, we're in 2020.
That's a very long time.
That is a very long time.
That the vehicle done out a comprehensive and got third party.
Exactly. So, caller, I am just begging you. If you need some assistance from Asot Michael, call him on the telephone and say, Asot Michael, can you help me, please? Don't use my name. Thank you very much.
Well, yes, thank you very much. You're holding up the line. Thank you. If I can take a little break, we don't have no break, module now, but sure, we definitely can switch to the holding scene and then get on like a song in the place. We'll be right back, callers. Give us a like 2 minutes there. We'll be right back.
Listen lyrics. Oh yeah, Asot Michael, servant leader.
Welcome back. Thank you all for staying with us for that break. It is our first ever break. First ever break we have on this live here tonight. And we thank you guys for staying for our little break. And we're going to take, Mr. Michael said he's going to take about 5 more calls. Yeah? So we're going to extend it. It was 3 calls. So he said he want to take 5 more calls. Because he say you have fun, buddy. Because he want to talk to you and hear what you say. No worry, when they come by the door, we will see them come by the door. Alright, so we go open back up the phone lines. Look at our phone call already. Alright. Hello, good evening, caller. Hold on 1 second. Hello, good evening, caller. Start over the caller.
Okay. You can hear me, right?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
All right. Good evening, Brother Truth. Good evening, Brother Asot. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
I should say Uncle Asot. Respect your elders. Good evening, Uncle.
Thank you, my brother.
All right, man. 2 questions. 2 questions. One of them is to give the people a little wisdom, a little gem. And the second one is just some clarification. The first question. During the election, we saw Brother Jonathan there, Shuggy up by you. J2 don't put the people in them place and say, he don't put the people in the place and say, he been up there doing his own thing, and I respect that 100%. I just want to know, were you funding any individuals from UPP? Even if you were, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I think that's a private situation, and Antiguans are people on a whole take things to an extreme, like you can have personal friendship with oppositions and so on. And the second question is, Mr. Asot, I know your dad used to drive taxi when he first came here, or your grandfather, and they were poor peasants, and you, through hard work, your family built a legacy. What advice, what wisdom can you give young entrepreneurs, young people striving to set themselves up? What wisdom can you give them? Because I know you had some challenges and so on. So give the people some advice, and what go on for Shuggy and them up there, yard.
First of all, thank you for your question, my brother. First of all, Shuggy has been my personal friend, and more so Chester Hughes. You know, Chester Hughes has gone back. His grandfather and my dad were very, very, very close friends. And you know, Chester Hughes from time to time comes, visits me. He brings all kind of UPP people to my house. And listen to me, I have no political enemies in this country. Absolutely none. I want to make it pellucidly clear, as Lester Bird would say. I did not fund the UPP. I did not fund Howard Lovell or any member of the UPP. Had I, in retrospect, funded members of the UPP, I could have guaranteed you the Labour Party would not have won 7 seats. I would have guaranteed you tonight that Gaston Browne himself would have lost his seat.
Facts.
I promise you that. I made a concerted effort that I'm a member of the Labour Party. They were accusing me. They were spreading all kind of false lies, including Gaston Browne, over a year now, saying that I'm funding the UPP. Not a single cent. Shuggy's my friend. I really do not know the other guy, Jonathan, who they brought the other night. What's his name?
Jonathan Joseph.
Jonathan Joseph. In fact, it's the first time he has ever come to my house.
Right.
But Shuggy I've known very well, and Chester's been my friend for over 25 years. And in fact, I tell you this, his sister, Joycelyn, came home to vote for me, Joycelyn Hughes, and she's my constituent. And I can tell you that I believe Chester also voted for me this election and last election. I shouldn't be saying so. But given that
you can believe where you are, no.
No. Chester's grandfather was very close friends with my dad.
Yeah.
And, you know, Cyril Hughes used to work at APU for many years. But I didn't fund no UPP candidates.
Right.
And they should be grateful. The Labour Party and Gaston Browne and Chet Green and all them who were spreading these lies should be extremely grateful.
Yeah, that is right.
Because I want to tell them, the seats were so goddamn close that Malvin Joseph, had I funded his opponent, would have lost the seat.
And remember,
Melford Nicholas, if I really funded Howard Lovell, would not have won a seat.
I remember Gaston don't say them afraid your money now. So if you really fund them,
so it's total utter nonsense.
Yes. And I want to state, right, categorically, the day when I see me down at Asot yard with the picture and them from Shuggy, Asot didn't even see for my face. You hear me tell you? The only time Asot see my face was the day before, the Saturday when we were supposed to have his talk of things live.
Correct.
The next day when they take my picture, Asot didn't even see my face because I'm a good on day for no money. So somebody called him on Jackie Quinn show. I'm going to have to contact Jackie Quinn and get that number. And they said that they know that I went down there and collected money from Mr. Michael. And I know not even Mr. Michael can sit down across there and see that me come and get money for me.
But during the election, you cost me more than anybody else
That not
leading up
any-
to the election.
But you know, people
and you
talk
tell
and
them to
say-
vote for me. Although I beg you and beg you to
Who
vote.
tell you so? Pick
say
your child,
it.
pick them out.
Anyway,
I
want to answer the second part of the question, which is very important.
uh.
You said, given my grandfather came, when my grandfather was born here, born here, he went to grammar school. My great-grandfather came from Lebanon. And they came as poor peasants, very poor, poorer than many of the poor people here in Antigua. In fact, Mitchell Michael, whose first choice is named after that Victor and Charles, and then was left back in Lebanon and came here at the age of 13. He actually was left there by my great-grandfather and actually used to yam grass. That is no exaggeration. You can go and ask Victor and Charles and Peter Michael. They were so poor. The first time in my life I went to Lebanon was in 2017 and went 4,000 meters up in the mountains to see where my great-grandparents lived.
Yeah.
Okay? And I met one of my grandfather's brothers at 96 years old, still tilling the soil, trong, as a farmer. So the advice that I would give to young entrepreneurs and young people in general in this country is to be honest, work hard, find a career that you love. No matter what it is. You don't have to be academic. Let me tell you something. Yes, my grandfather, Asot Michael, had the opportunity to go to grammar school. But there are many, like Mitchell Michael, who could not read and write English. And it was Charles Edwards. Many of the old people remember who Keith Edwards was. Keith Edwards right there in Otters that had the largest wholesale. They have all that land going on in 5 Islands. His father, Charles Edwards, used to have to teach Mitchell Michael on the lantern. In them days they didn't have electricity in St. Mary's Street. How to read and write English. He never went to no secondary school. He went to primary school. He went to primary school in Antigua. And he elevated himself. He had a shop next to where Royal Bank of Canada is in Market Street, selling pigtail and salt beef and crackers and cheese and so forth, with an apron around him, with his wife Louise Michael. She was a Georgian. And they started out in a shop. Like how you see Destin have his shop with pigtail and all of that and salt beef. And he elevated himself. Then he went into a bigger shop in St. Mary's Street. And then he went out, and as his business grew, and the Antiguans supported his business, he went out and started different shops. All those little shops you see in Antigua, Ernest Williams, the Governor General's father, in Willakey's, the Ramsey, Dr. Prince Ramsey's father, all those little shops, he started them out on credit. And the indigenous people appreciated what they did for them. And he built up his business. But whatever career that you young people decide to choose, it could be electrician, it could be plumbing, it could be a small little business making soaps and cakes or whatever you decide to do, or open up a small automotive repair business or mechanic business. Be honest to yourself, work hard, surround yourself with good workers, save your money. Be loyal to your customers, treat your customers good. Your customers are your greatest asset. Without your customers, and that is why the Michael family did so well, because they're loyal to their customers, because it is those customers who kept coming back to them, who kept patronizing their businesses, who built them from nothing. After my grandfather drove taxi for enough years, then he opened up a gas station, down where Heritage is. I still have the sign down by my home. Texaco gas station, right in front of where you see Champion Footwear, and so is where you see the taxi driver sit down by Heritage.
Right.
He opened a very, very fruitful gas station for many years, pumping gas himself until he employed other people. Then he built up other businesses, clothing businesses and cloth businesses and so forth in Market Street. And then those days property was cheap and they were able to acquire 1 or 2 properties and they expanded. But it's the poor indigenous black people of this country who built them to what they are today. And that is why I believe that my mantra in life is not for money to be accumulated. I don't have the money that Hadid have, or Wills Martin, or Elias, or Salem, or all these other business people have, or Hani, or so forth. But I believe in sharing. I believe in giving back. I believe in being a philanthropist, in helping young people, sending them away to university, helping the elderly when it comes to medical bills, whether it's to send them overseas or to pay their medical bills here in Antigua. What is the sense that I'm going to dead one day, whether I die young or old, and have $5-10 million in a bank? I'm not saying I have that now, but because I spent a lot, over the years. But it's no sense. It's no sense. It gives me no pleasure in accumulating money. And my late Uncle Morris Michael was the same thing. My father was the same thing. My grandfather Asot was the same thing. You have to give back to society. So my advice to young people is to be honest to your customers if you want to go into business. Be loyal to them. Treat them with respect. Don't rob them. Treat your staff. Your staff is important to you. Surround yourself with honest staff that is going to look out for your interest in your business. Don't just pay them a salary. Whatever business you develop, give them a bonus. Even give them a share, stake in the business. So that at the end of the day, they will feel that they are part of that business. You make money, they will also make money. So that is my advice to young people. Thank you.
All right. Have another caller. Hello, good night.
Hi.
Good night.
Good night. Can you hear?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Good night.
Mr. Michael,
Yes, darling.
you know who this is?
Say again.
You know who is this?
Sound like a beautiful lady from Param.
No, me not from Param, you know me from Great Farm.
Okay, tell me your name, darling.
Suzanne, man.
Oh,
Come
yes,
on, man.
Suzanne, of course, my sweetheart, darling.
Okay.
Thank you for all your well wishes and all your
Hey.
love that you've given me and poured me. Yes, thank you for all your
know
blessings.
You know me love you bad, so you need not to worry.
I love you too,
I
darling.
just want to tell you congratulations again, and you know, you are one of them that we just always know where you get your love from. But me tell you, boss, you're one in a million, and I am happy that I am so happy that I know you, your mom, and you know the generous things you guys have done for me for so long. I mean, in your constituency, so you can tell anybody. It's just natural with you. You just born natural in doing what you're doing for people, and just continue the way you do. And trust me, I'll love you. No matter what they say, I'll love you. Me don't know about nobody else, and all the fakers. We don't really respect what you and Gaston, and we respect the fact that we know who you be. You just genuine. And we don't get enough bang out for you.
You just can't sit on go Gaston.
No. Me really busy with the inner. Yeah, we just know you just genuine and you love people. And you can always grow. You see what I say? So, pick up yourself and here you are. I want a job now. Here the job me want. The job for all of them that been abused out the world for 7 minutes. They're going to run, come now, go look for me. So just give me the job, let me can show you who them be.
No problem, Suzanne, darling.
All right, baby love. Keep it up.
Thank you, darling. You know,
all right.
You know, Suzanne, I've received hundreds and hundreds of WhatsApps and Facebook messages and so forth. I can't even read all of them every day.
Yes.
But I got one so touching last night, and I didn't recognize him, from a schoolmate that I went to St. Joseph Academy. And he said, you know, Mr. Michael, you may not remember me, but my grandfather used to bring lettuce, monkey lettuce. I'm sure you remember a man named Monkey Lettuce from Otters.
Yeah, long time.
Right, years ago, and he said you used to bring lettuce for your father and mother and so forth in the store in High Street years ago.
Yeah.
And Christine is his mother, Christine. And he said, I went to St. Joseph Academy with you. And you don't change. It's in your DNA. I remember when you used to come there, 12, 13 years old, and you would share your lunch with us, less fortunate than you. And you would open up your whole lunch kit and give away all your lunch to us, poorer students than you were. And it's in your DNA to give people and to help and to love poor people. And he sent me that from Ottawa last night. He's in Antigua and he's coming home with me. And it really touched me.
Well,
really
Mr. Michael, I have one question to ask you. This is a question now.
Sure.
The building on Navy Street, that is yours or your mom's?
Yes, both of us, yes.
Right. She spoke to me a long time ago when I came down there about the situation with the building, okay?
Yes.
Now everything is over and election is over, sir. What is going to happen with the building down here?
Well, I don't know. You know, they have not paid my mom for rent for over 2.5 years.
I know that, sir. So that's why I'm asking you what will happen to us in that building down there.
Well, I don't know. Somebody sent me a text today. I don't know how true it is, saying that the Prime Minister gave instructions today to for them to vacate, for the cultural department staff to vacate the building. And that's part of his vindictiveness towards my family. And it doesn't hurt me because we are not getting the rent for over 2.5 years. I think they paid maybe 1 or 2 months over the last 2 years or plus. So somebody else will rent it. Life will go on. I'm not going to go hungry.
I I was just
I'm sure if
asking
I want
because
some food,
to
I can
know.
come by you and Yam, or go by
If you're
plenty
gonna
homes
throw-
in this country.
Mr. Michael, I just wanted to know if you're going to throw us out.
I'm saying to you, today I received a text message from a reputable person in the government service saying I've not received any official letter from the Prime Minister or any government ministry or the minister responsible for culture. Who's the minister responsible for culture? I think it's Darrell Matthew. I've not received anything officially, but unofficially I received a text saying the Prime Minister gave instructions to the staff that they will be relocated to new premises. It does not faze me in the least. I expect the worst from Gaston Browne. So, they've not been paying us anyhow. So it's better that they vacate the building and we sue them for our money and somebody else will rent it, darling. I'm not going to go hungry.
About to throw out, sir. About to throw out.
I am not throwing you all out, darling. I told you, I told you he's throwing you all out, not me.
Okay, then. Have a good night.
You have a good night, darling.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carla. Missed a few calls that day, but we're taking 2 more calls, and then I got some Casamigos for the drink. Can I make, who can make tea that TV, son? Answer where? Are we trying to them? Anyway, one shot, me again, I give more than one thing to drink. All right, we have second to last caller. Hello, good night, caller.
Good night, good night, good night.
Good night, good night.
My last call, that I should acknowledge it as that Asot Michael defeated Gaston Browne. We should make that an acknowledgement, that that's what happened.
Yeah, definitely.
So even though Gaston won his seating points, he was defeated.
By Gaston,
So
by Asot Michael.
Then, yeah, so Asot made the first example of him losing power.
Fact.
So that is something to come.
Fact.
Yeah, so look at it as that.
Big up yourself,
all the
Carl.
money and all the government, everything on his side, and Asot defeated him.
Fact.
Thank you, caller. Thank you very much.
That is actually a fact, because for the way how Gaston went all out on a personal tirade against you, and you still came out victorious. He really lose the battle, man. He really lose the battle. All right, we're going to take this last caller, and then we are going to close the phone lines. Hello, good evening, caller.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I have a quick question for Mr. Michael.
Speak into the microphone for me, please.
Pardon me?
Speak properly into the microphone. You sound a bit low.
Okay. I have a quick question for Michael Browne. Mr. Michael Browne.
Mr. Who?
Michael, sorry.
Oh.
Michael. Oh, sorry. Towards the job program, people that's working, that's not being hired yet. Is it possible you can afford to talk in Parliament towards that? Because I know some of your constituency maybe work for the job program and hasn't been hired. So like they've been working for years and hasn't been getting hired by the government. And they told them by like 6 months, person that worked 6 months, they will afford to like hire them.
Yes, I'm very well aware of
Thank
that
you, caller.
situation. Thank you very much for your question, caller. And I've written to Mr. Henry, Joato Henry, several letters, maybe 60, 75 of my constituents that have been in the job program now, some of them over 2.5 years. And it's very unfortunate because just prior to the elections, leading up to the elections, 3-4 months before the general elections, they transferred over 400 persons or 500 persons in strategic constituencies and placed them into permanent positions in the government payroll. And not one single member of my constituency have been placed permanently on the government payroll. And it's totally unfair. I picked up the phone, I called Joato Henry, I wrote him about it, and he kept telling me government don't have finances and don't have the money to pay them. Total rubbish, nonsense. My people once again were victimized deliberately by Gaston Browne and by the minister responsible for the job program. By the minister responsible for the job program, I repeat, and the Prime Minister. And these things got to change. They're not spiting me. Y'all are getting what? $362 a week. Some of y'all are getting less. How can you live upon that? How can you live on that after you take out deductions? And when they transferred nearly 450, 500 persons in permanent positions, most of y'all are qualified And really and truly, the job program was built and developed for persons to only work there for 6 months to get training. 6 months. And then you go and you be transferred permanently into your respective job or placed into the private sector or into the government service. Not to be working 3 and 4 years in the job program. It's outrageous. These things have to change. And I'm going to advocate for those changes to be done. Thank you, caller, for that important question. I want to thank you, J. Truth, for having me again on your program this evening. Very interesting discussion and discourse that we had.
Right.
I want to thank your listening public, your listening audience on the World Wide Web. I know you have a great following. I commend you on what you have been doing for Antigua and Barbuda to be enlightening the young people, not only the young people. You'll be surprised to know the amount of, elderly people, middle class people, all stratas of life that listen to your program.
Right.
And I just want to big you up. You're doing a damn good job. When you started out, people say, oh, you're a crazy man.
Yeah.
And you're a mad man.
Gaston specifically.
Oh, Gaston labeled you and try and demonize you, and just like what he did to me.
Yeah.
Your program come out to be one of the most popular, well-listened programs. I mean, I have lawyers that call me. I have bankers that call me and say they listen to your program, they follow your program. Not just when I'm on. When you are on, 3 times a week, whatever times you're on.
Right.
Your program is one of the most listened to programs in Antigua and Barbuda.
Appreciate it.
And you're doing a very, very good job here. And I just want to commend your listenership, and to thank you for the opportunity once again. And I hope that you will invite me from time to time to apprise my constituents of what is going on.
Yeah, man.
And I'm not saying I must come on every single week or every other week.
No, well, you have to go with for me schedule. So.
All right. But, I really appreciate the opportunity, my brother. And once again, I want to thank the good people of St. Peter's for the confidence that you all have placed into me. And to give you a pledge again tonight that I will not let you down. And I will do my utmost best to represent you in Parliament and outside of Parliament. And I will not let down the people of this country neither. I will discuss national issues, what is in the best interest of Antigua and Barbuda. I'm an Antiguan, heart to heart, in every single part of my body. I will give to this country. And I will not be derailed by no one man. No one man will set my agenda. Absolutely not. I'm a God-fearing man. I'm a Christian man. And I believe, and I was taught by my mother, my late mother, and my father, to fear no man, but to fear God. And when God is for you, no man or no weapon can form against you. And I've been victorious, and I attribute this victory to my dear mother, who is now dead, and in her name, God be the glory. Yeah. Thank you very much for having me tonight.
Big up yourself. All right, you heard it here from the man himself, Mr. Asot Michael, the victorious independent representative of the St. Peter's constituency. Well, he has been independent before winning independent, because I hear you using money all the time to do everything. So, you don't know how it goes. So, Mr. Michael, appreciation to you for coming on board again. Appreciation to you, the viewers. Thank you for all the support, the shares, the viewership, because you could be watching anything else, but you chose to be here watching this live. And for that, I say thank you. Peace, love, and guidance until I'll link on the next live. Malaba, you here? Over and out.